Hello, everyone. You are welcome to the second online stakeholders engagement meeting for the proposed battery manufacturing project in Kwa West, local government area, Abia State, Nigeria, by New Way Power Technology Company Limited. This meeting happens to be the last edition This event is hosted by Richflood, a leading continental provider of environmental and social due diligence services for investment in Africa. Richflood works closely with investors and leaders in the public and private sector of different economies in Africa, providing a range of services related to impact assessment of projects. With its current activities and headquarters in Abuja, Nigeria, Richflood has established partnerships in the United States and United Kingdom, as well as operational partnerships in a few African countries, such as South Africa, Egypt, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Rwanda. Finally, Richflood helps clients sourcing for funds from donors or international banks, such as IFC, World Bank, and African Development Bank, to meet up with the international lenders' requirements. Before we proceed further, I would like to make clarification on a few items so we have maximum participation throughout this meeting. This meeting will be recorded and the recording will be made available on Richflood's YouTube channel. All participants are in setup listening only mode. Lastly, I will request everyone to rename his or herself and adding the name of the organization in bracket so you can be properly identified. The agenda for this meeting is displayed on the screen right now. And as displayed on the screen, we are going to start with the opening remark, which is what I'm doing now. Later on, we are going to have introductory speech and also the introduction of all the participants that are part of this event. There is going to be a recap of the previous stakeholders engagement meeting and also a background information document that will give information on the discussion of the projects that we are talking about. There is also going to be a contribution by the project proponents and responses and input from other stakeholders that are part of this meeting. And there's going to be a remark by the host committee, that is the representative of the host committee, and a closing remark by our group managing director, and also a group photograph at the end of the meeting. So right now, I will hand over to the Chief Operating Officer of Richflood International Limited for the introductory speech. Over to you, Mr. Prince, for the introductory speech for this event.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ukeme, our moderator. And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this second online edition of the Stakeholders Engagement Program for the proposed battery manufacturing project. Like Mr. Yellow said earlier, Richflood International is an environmental and social governance consultant committed to helping individuals and organizations meet up with environmental compliance requirements in Nigeria and across Africa. As part of regulatory requirements guiding developmental projects, such as the project we have gathered today for, an environmental impact assessment is to be carried out in accordance with EIA Act, Cap E12 LFN 2004. This act makes it mandatory for proponents of certain categories of developmental projects to carry out environmental impact assessment as a way of assessing the impact a project will have on the environment. Having said that, stakeholders engagement is one of the key activities carried out as part of the processes of undertaking environmental impact assessment for developmental projects, whereby all the stakeholders converge to deliberate and share ideas on how they are impacted by the project, just as we are doing today. The input and suggestions from the various stakeholders will further guide in assessing the impacts of the proposed project and preferring measures to mitigate the likely impact that the project may have on the environment. So I implore everyone to actively participate in the discussion and wish us a fruitful deliberation. On behalf of my management, you are welcome. And I want to hand over to Mr. Yellow, the moderator. Mr. Yellow, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prince. As part of measures to ensure relevant stakeholders were carried along for the stakeholders engagement meeting and for this project, invitations were sent out to all impacted and interested public. So today we have on our roll call of attendees for this program, various stakeholders from the Federal Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Environment, Abia State, Ministry of Trade and Investment, Abia State, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Public Utility and Water Supply, the host community, which is Umagugu, Umaigwe, and Umacheke community, and NGOs. So by way of recap for the stakeholders engagement meeting, the first stakeholders engagement meeting for this project was held physically on the 19th of August 2021 at the New Way facility and the host community area in Ukwa West Local Government area of Abia State. And the second edition, which was the first online edition for this project, was carried out on the 28th of September 2021. The meeting had in attendance over 30 participants cutting across the representative of the Federal Ministry of Environment, the Ministry of Environment, Abia State, the host community, the project proponents, and other key stakeholders. The proposed project was disclosed to the various stakeholders and activities to be undertaken during the process. The project proponent has a robust corporate social responsibility commitment to the host communities. And as part of this commitment, New Way, which is the project proponent, has revamped a borehole project in the host community and provided a power generating set for further powering of this borehole. Let's listen to the video clip to see how the proponent has discharged this responsibility.
Yeah.
The borehole that was donated to Umogogo and the village by Inagala through New Way. So we are here to say thank you, a very big thank you to Ina Galaxy Group, New Way and Sari. Yes. May God continue to bless you people. May God allow you to get whatever that is your wish. Why you have come to Nigeria will come with accomplishment in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, before we proceed any further, I'll invite Mr. Joe Sunday to make a brief presentation on the proposed project, especially for the benefit of those who were not in the previous stakeholders engagement meeting, to have a good idea of what the proposed project is all about. Over to you, Mr. Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Okeme. I hereby present the background information document for the proposed battery manufacturing project at Ukwa West Local Government area of Abia State, Nigeria, by New Way Power Technology Company Limited. By way of introduction, environmental impact assessment, otherwise known as EIA, is the process of evaluating the likely environmental and social impacts of a proposed project or development, taking into account the interrelated socio-economic, cultural, and human health impacts, both beneficial and adverse. And by law that governs developmental and capitalist projects in Nigeria, and environmental impact assessment is being carried out for this proposed project in accordance with the EIA at Cap E12 LFN 2004. The New Way Power Technology Company Limited is a project proponent, is a privately owned company that is registered in Nigeria under the Corporate Affairs Commission with RC number 1575928, which was registered on the 3rd of June 2019 to undertake battery manufacturing and assembly activities. And the company, the new way, they intend to build a fully automated battery laboratory, which will form part of the significant drive and even lead to the manufacturing of battery products in line with the required national standard. And the production scale of the project at phase 1 of the project is estimated at 900,000 pieces of battery per year. For the location and size of the proposed project is situated on a 304,134.3 meter square land area, which is within the Inner Galaxy facility area. And the project is located along the Port Harcourt-Aba Expressway, which is about 11 kilometers from Imo River Bridge, beside the International Conventional Center at Ukwa West Local Government Area of Abia State. And then the site can be accessed by land from Aba and Port Harcourt and even from Uweri. So if you are coming from Aba or from Port Harcourt, it is located along the Port Harcourt-Aba Expressway. And on the screen is the map of Nigeria that highlights Abia State where the project is located. And on the screen also is the map of Abia State that highlights Ukwa West Local Government, which is the local government where the project is located. There are a lot of environmental laws and regulatory frameworks that guide the activities of projects, such as this proposed project. You have a lot of them, like the Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA ATCAP E12 LFN of 2004. We also have the National Environmental Standard and Regulation Enforcement Agency, NESRA, at 2007, down to the Nigeria Urban and Regional Planning ATCAP number 138 of LFN 2004. We have the Factory Act, the Factory Noise Pollution Act, the Federal Solid and Hazardous Waste Management Regulations 1991, down to the Forestry Law, the Endangered Species Act, CAP E9 LFN 2004, and also we have the Abia State Basic Environmental Law 1 of 2004 that was amended in 2013, and as well we have the IFC Performance Standard on Social and Environmental Sustainability and some other environmental laws and regulatory frameworks. So for the project description, the battery manufacturing process involves the use of plastic container and cover formation, and as well as the grid casting. Also involves the use of lead oxide formation, blasting process, curing process, first assembly session, the final assembly session, and the battery storage area itself. So we have about 8 processes that are involved in the manufacturing of battery, which this project will involved in. The proposed battery manufacturing process will be carried out in an automated control environment that involves the following steps. We have the lead oxide process, which involves the use of lead ingot imported from China. The lead ingot is cut and granulated, which is melted in a furnace by ball milling process to produce lead oxide. And on the picture is a pictorial view of this lead oxide process. Also, we have the plasting process in which the lead paste is made by mixing the lead powder, pure water, and sulfuric acid in a closed automation paste stirring machine. Another process is the grit production, which involves the heating of lead alloy and which form the lead stripe, which are cut into sheets. The sheets are then sent to the grit forming machine for punching, grooving, roll, compacting, expansion, and slicing to form the extended grit. Another process is the curing process. In this process, the grit and the lead paste are treated by the automatic continuous plate coating machine and the dryer under certain conditions of temperature near 32 degrees Celsius for about 48 hours to form the unformed plate. And the next step is the element assembly process. In this process, all the parts that are assembled into a battery case and covered with the plastic molds in a plastic molding plant. And this particular step involves the formation of positive and negative plate stacks, and also involves the insertion of separators as well as the intercept connector and plate bonding. The electrolyte filling and formation is another step in this at this stage. After the assembly, the battery jar is being filled with the required amount of electrolyte through a filling or vent tube. And also the next step is the battery charging and discharging process. At this stage, the batteries are being subjected to irate discharge test for short duration to rule out any defect before sending them out to the final charge. Finally, the batteries are then recharged for certain backup hours and then sent to the next level where additional connections, labeling, and caps are inserted with sealed cotton pattern. And then we also have the visual inspection and dispatch, which is the last stage. At this stage, the batteries are then dispatched after the visual inspection of the quality has been done. So the final product of this proposed project is what is shown on the screen, a battery. So there are a lot of impacts that will be associated with this proposed project, a lot of impacts that will be associated. The first one that has been that you consider as a potential impact is in the solid waste. The solid waste that are produced by the battery manufacturing production process is mainly includes the waste grid, the waste lead powder, the waste lead paste, waste plate, waste packaging materials, the injection molding of course, unqualified batteries, and the household waste and some other solid waste. The grid of cuts generated in the grid cutting, punching, and grooving, as well as punching forming processes that are generated will be collected and then remitted in the lead pan for raw material of grade making. For the gas emissions, which are also considered as another type of waste that is associated with this project, the gas emission can be from the lead smoke from the casting of expanded grid. The lead smoke produced in the project stripe making process is collected by the closed gas collecting hood, created by a set of lead smoke purifier, and then discharged by an external funnel. This lead smoke that are being produced by an assembly line is another type of gas emission. The lead smoke produced by assembly line is collected by the exhaust hood and then purified by the cyclone dust collector plus the filter cylinder dust collector and then discharged through an exhaust funnel. Also, another type of waste that will be associated with this project is the effluent, which is otherwise known as the wastewater. So the effluent that have been generated by equipment cleaning and the wastewater generated by workshop ground washing will be collected and channeled into the sewage treatment tank for precipitation and neutralization treatment. All the treated comprehensive water will be recycled as environmental protection water, and then the domestic wastewater will be used for plant afforestation after the precipitation treatment in the septic tank is being done. Another type of waste that will be associated with the project is the waste from the waste acid or acidic waste. These are acidic waste produced in the acid filling process of the battery will be collected by the acid collecting tank and then transferred to the sulfuric acid purification workshop, where it is mixed with the purchased concentrated sulfuric acid as a ratio of less than or equal to 10% for distillation treatment. And the waste residue that are being produced in the process of this sulfuric acid purification will be neutralized with industrial sodium hydroxide and used for paving the road in the factory. So that is all about the waste, the passive waste for this proposed project, and how each of these waste will be used. And for the terms of reference for the study, for the purpose of the EIA studies for this proposed project, a one-season data gathering exercise was approved by the Federal Ministry of Environment and studies which has commenced are still ongoing to assess the biophysical and the socio-economic components of the environment where this project is located. So during when the project EIA studies was about to be commenced, a lot of stakeholders were mapped. A lot of stakeholders were mapped, stakeholders, the interested parties, and the affected parties. The stakeholders which range from the Federal Ministry of Environment, the National Environmental Standards and Regulation Enforcement Agency, national boards, the federal, and then at the state level. We also have the Ministry of Environment, Abia State, the Ministry of Trade and Investment, Abia State Ministry of Water Resources, Abia State Ministry of Youth Development, Abia State Ministry of Sports and Social Development, Abia State Ministry of Poverty, Alleviation and Cooperatives, Abia State Ministry of Commerce and Industry, also the Abia State Ministry of Public Utilities and Water Supply, the Ministry of Science and Technology, the Nigeria Police Force in Abia State. They were all mapped and they were all invited for the scoping and then the stakeholders engagement for this proposed project. Also, the Ukwa West local government area was also mapped. The New Way Power Technology Company Limited, the project proponent, as well as the host communities. The host communities, the three major host communities that were mapped involved, they are the Umugogo community, the Umugbe, and the Umacheke villages. So these are the three host communities, and they were mapped and they were properly identified during the stakeholders engagement meeting for this proposed project. The stakeholders engagement program date. The first physical stakeholders engagement meeting was held on the 19th of August 2021 at the New Way facility and host community areas. And the second engagement meeting, which also happens to be the first online edition of the engagement meeting, was held on the 28th of September 2021. And then the stakeholders engagement meeting that is being held today, the one that is going on right now, is the third stakeholders engagement, which is also the second online engagement. And there is also the last edition of the engagement meeting for this project. So for the environmental studies for the EIA, a multidisciplinary approach was employed in the acquisition of environmental data, and then this was executed within the framework of the Federal Ministry of Environment procedural guidelines and the terms of reference that was developed for the EIA study. And the data for the EIA study for the project were obtained through different means. We carried out the desktop research, and then there was field observation, sampling and measurement of environmental component. Also, the laboratory analysis of the sampled environmental component also took place, and also the public consultations, socioeconomic and health assessment was also part of the studies that was carried out for the EIA of the proposed project. To effectively characterize the project area, a comprehensive 168 data gathering exercise was carried out. And the field study involved the data acquisition on the physical, the biological, and the socioeconomic aspect of the environment in which the project is located. So the aspects that were considered during the EIA were the environmental aspects that were considered included the climate and the meteorology, the air quality and noise, the soil, the surface water and groundwater, the biodiversity, that is the flora, the plants and the animals, and also the socioeconomic and health status of the communities were all assessed during the EIA studies. For the soil studies, the 15 soil samples were collected within and around the project area, 12 were collected within the project area, and 3 were collected at each of the 3 communities that, each of the 3 host communities that are around the project site. And all the soil samples were taken at depth intervals of 0 to 15 centimeters for the topsoil, and then 15 to 30 centimeters for the subsoil using a hand stainless steel organ. Then the soils that were collected, analysis is being carried out on them for the physical, chemical, and the microbiological parameters of the soil. Also for the air quality and noise studies, the 15 air quality sampling stations were established for measurement of the air quality and noise. 12 were done within the project area, and 3 were done at each of the host at each of the 3 host communities that are around the project site. The air quality parameters that were measured during the exercise included the carbon monoxide, the CO, the hydrogen sulfide, nitrogen dioxide, the sulfur dioxide, the carbon dioxide, the volatile organic compound, as well as the suspended particulate matters, both the SPM 2.5 and the SPM 10. Also, meteorological conditions were also measured, and the meteorological parameters that were measured included the temperature, wet bulb, relative humidity, atmospheric pressure, the wind speed. Also, alongside with them, the ambient noise levels were also measured in situ within and around the project area. And on the screen is the map that shows the different locations where these measurements took place, and we can also see the field staff that is taking the measurement on the site. Also, for the surface water, 3 surface water samples were collected. They were collected each at the upstream, midstream, and downstream of the river that passes through the project area. And then in-situ analysis were carried out for the surface water samples, especially for the parameters with short holding time. Such parameters included the pH, the dissolved oxygen, the total dissolved solid, and some other parameters. Also, other surface water samples were being taken to the laboratory for physical, chemical, and microbiological parameters to be tested. Also, on the screen is the map that shows the different locations where the surface water samples were collected, and you can also see the field staff that is collecting the surface water from that particular stream. Also, the groundwater studies was also carried out as part of the EIA studies. 4 groundwater samples were collected. 3 samples were collected from the borehole that is within the project facility area, and then 1 from the host community. So the in-situ analysis were also carried out on these groundwater samples. The in-situ parameters for in-situ analysis for short holding parameters such as the temperature, the electrical conductivity, and some others. So the groundwater was also, some groundwater samples was also collected and brought to the lab for physical, chemical, and microbiological analysis to be carried out on them. So as part of the EIA studies, the biodiversity studies was also carried out. Biodiversity studies is the study on the plants and the animals that are within and around the projects site. Also, so for the social component of the EIA studies, the primary and secondary sources of the data were used for the social and economic assessment. The host communities that were mapped and identified for the project are the Umugogo village, the Umugbe village, as well as the Umuacheke village. And then a lot of techniques were used for the socioeconomic and health assessment studies that was carried out. The use of structured questionnaire was employed. The use of focus group discussion was employed. The use of in-depth interviews was employed, and also the use of key informant interview were employed as well. Also, direct observation and stakeholders engagement program were also employed for the socio-economic and health assessment for this project. So on the screen is the map that shows the various stakeholders engagement that took place on site, the physical stakeholders engagement that took place, and also we are able to map the buffer of 1 kilometer, 3 kilometers, and 5 kilometers. So these 3 host communities that were identified, that were mapped and identified, the falls within this 5 kilometers buffer. So we have a lot of passive impact of this proposed project, both beneficial and negative impact. Of course, this project is going to bring with it the creation of job opportunities, especially for the youth that are within the host community, and even to the Ukwa West local government at large, and also to Abia State. A lot of people are going to be employed to do one or two things on for the project. Also, the project will enhance the development of amenities and infrastructural facilities. Also, it will bring with it improvement on the economic status of the communities, especially the host communities. Also, as part of the environmental impact assessment, a lot of negative impacts, anticipated negative impacts were perceived. A lot of negative impact, which include loss of biodiversity, dust generation, or gaseous emissions. But as part of these ongoing EIA studies, mitigation plans and management plans will be made to eliminate all these negative impact or to reduce them to as low as reasonably practicable. So lastly, for the cumulative impact, the ongoing EIA studies, we also identify the existing and the planned area of influence and their associated environmental and socio-economic impacts will also be identified. And the cumulative impact of this proposed project and of existing and planned development within the project area of influence will be examined, and the appropriate and effective mitigation plans and management plans will be carried out so that this impact will be reduced to as low as reasonably practicable. So I'll stop here and then hand over to the moderator, who will take it off from here. Over to you, Mr. Okeme.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joe, for putting us through the background information and document for the project. So it's now time for us to contribute. And first we are going to now be calling on the project proponent, that is the New Way Power Technology Company Limited, or its representative, to make further contribution to the discussion and any other updates as it relates to this project. So it's now time for the project proponents, New Way Power Technology Company Limited, to make inputs to this discussion. Just tell us so far the social responsibility has been discharged by the company, and any other things you have to tell us as regards this project. The New Way, we are waiting for you. If you can hear me, please unmute yourself and make contribution to this discussion. Mike or Jackson, if you can hear me. So it's time for the company to contribute to the discussion. Tell us so far.
Yes, can you hear me?
Has been discharged and what the company is doing so far to ensure that this project is a success, especially in.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Okeme.
Yeah, me too. Jesus.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, loud and clear. Go on.
Okay. Yes, we are all seated here. The host community representative, they are all present here. And as you have asked, everything has been put on ground. Project to be a success, and for the community to also be the impact too. For the area of corporate social responsibility, we have done some certain things, and more. We have plans to do more. For now, for the Umugugu and Umugwe community, we have ensured they have a working borehole. For the area of employment, we have done some. We are still mapping out plans to bring in more host community youth, to employ them when the project commences fully, when we begin our official employment. We have employed some numbers of them. And we have another plan for December, which they know very well. All be carried along.
All right. Thank you very much. I think we'll hear from the community as well. Now, the Abia State Ministry of Environment, other stakeholders that are here, it's now time for you to contribute to this discussion. It's a stakeholders engagement, so we need the input of everybody to ensure that the report, the EIA report that has been developed for this project is robust, and all the information that will be discussed here will actually help in ensuring that the report is met standards to the quality that is demanded, and everybody also happy at the end of the day. So it's time for input from other stakeholders that are here. The Ministry of Environment, Abia State, you have a representative from there. You can unmute yourself. Let's hear from you. For Abia State.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Ogaji, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm happy to see the Niue representatives as well. You're welcome. Thank you very much for the presentation, Mr. Sunday. And thank you for the good job that the team is doing to make sure that this study comes to capture all that is required to be captured, both in the field and also desktop, most especially in the communities. So I haven't seen, actually, mine is maybe a question or an observation. I haven't seen the community representatives so far. Mr. Chiza and Wow Chair, sorry if I murder your name. I can see him and the other lady. Can we have a video that shows the communities, women in attendance, youth representatives in attendance, and how far did we involve them? The involvement of the stakeholders is very, very critical to the success of this study. So I haven't seen an impressive representation yet, even from the regulatory agencies. So I'm a little bit worried, and we have to, the next SEP, we have to ensure that they are present by all means possible, so that we can hear their own inputs. We can have their inputs captured in the report. Otherwise, it will be incomplete. We have a long list of stakeholders that ought to be in this meeting. So I think that the next meeting that we are going to have next month should be more robust than this, and the representation should be good. Thank you, Chiza. I can see the lady in yellow color, and I can see our daddy at the back of Jackson. I want to believe that he's a representative of the community people. Aside that, I've not seen a lot. So we would like to hear from them and capture their comments as well. Oh, okay. I can see the hall. Thank you. Thank you, Chiza. I can see the hall. I can see the hall. Thank you very much for the effort that has been made so far. Thanks for that hall, for putting it together. Thank you. That's impressive. But like Oliver Twist, we can do more. We should do more. We should do more, please. We want more representation in the room at the next meeting. Thank you very much. That will be all from my side.
All right, thank you very much, Maf, for the input. So we will now take comments from representatives of the host community that we have in this meeting. Any member of the host community that has something to say as regards this meeting, please introduce yourself and let's hear from you. You mentioned the name of the community. We have two separate communities as part of this project. So you introduce yourself and you mention the name of the community you are presenting. Representative of the host community. I think we are having some technical glitch. They are trying to unmute themselves so we can hear them. The representative of the host community. Now.
Okay.
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 You can hear you now.
You can hear me now. Okay, man? Okay, this is Chief Sam, representing Umogogo and Umigwe, the host community. So please, from what we've heard and what we have seen from the screen, there are provisions for the necessary things, arrangements that New Way is doing to make sure they alleviate the sufferings and improve the living standard of the host communities. That's what we want to know for now.
Okay, thank you very much, Sam. But apart from that, please you can mute all other devices. Let's hear from only one device so I won't have any holdback. Apart from that, is there any other comment so far? What's the project? How's the project impacted on the community, members of the community? Remember when we came for the field visit, there were some comments and demands by the community. So far, how's the project impacted on the community? You can go ahead and comment on that and give us a general overview of so far the impact of the project on the community. Also, I know we have a member of representative from Umacheke, so we can also hear from community representative of Umacheke community, which is also the host community rather for this project. Representative of Umacheke community. I think Chief Sam is still talking. You please unmute. If you can hear me, your mic is muted. Please unmute your mic so that we can hear you.
Right. Okay.
Okay, all right, we can hear you now.
Okay. You know, the company has to do with the battery. And here in our community, we know what battery is all about. Last time we came here, we tried to find out how this company can mitigate the effect, the hazardous effect of this battery company to the host community. So we want a repetition of that answer that day so that we can be on the safe side. How you can mitigate the hazardous effect of this company to host community. Yes.
Okay, no problem. I'll respond to that. Do we have a representative from Umacheke, the other host?
Yes.
Yes. From them as
Just
well.
hold on while I pass it to them.
Yes.
You could also tell us the positive impact so far. How is the relationship between you and the company so far? This project was disclosed to the community.
Okay, good afternoon.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Okay.
We can hear you. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me, Mr. Kene?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me respond to your last question about the relationship between the company and the host community. In a scale of 1 to 10, I think, Chief, we can give them 7. At the scale of 1 to 10, so far the relationship with host community and the company has been awesome so far. So we'll give them 7 so far.
Okay. Do you have any?
I don't think we have a divided interest. Sammy have said it all. There are so many requests we made during your community registration. I know that there's a request we in particular made as well. So far so good. There's not been any plan towards it. I think we made mention of borehole water. We made mention of electricity extent so good. There have not been any plan. There have not been any check. There have not been any seed to learn. I'm concerning the youth. Let me speak on behalf of the youth in general. Appalling that whenever we come for this kind of meeting, we continue repeating employment. Every time we repeat employment, any good result towards it. As at now, nobody have been employed to a vital position, even the laborers. So in that aspect, plan 2 should come to play. This is December. They should look into on how in sports aspects. They should look into that aspect. How to unite the youth in sport aspects. I think they should put that into consideration.
All right, thank you very much. Do you have any female member of the area of the
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
Hello. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Yeah.
My name is Zokichi from Omachiki. Can you hear me?
I hear you. I can hear you very well. Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, Chi, can you hear me? Go ahead. Okay, I think we'll back to the community before we wrap up. We can see somebody raising his hand. Okay, raising our hand. About CMR, so that should be the representative of the ASTM Ministry of Environment. Please go ahead. You can sending a notification to you now. Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening.
Yeah, I have been a little busy, though. I traveled, we went on a tour for something like this. Far, far over. But as soon as the thing started, I have been online. I eventually came out to sit somewhere so that I can complete it, the Zooming process. I am happy with what I heard earlier from the proponents. At least it's like some of the things we talked about the last time we had the Zoom meeting have reflected. But there are still things, and I'm also equally happy that is like you people have changed with your relationship. They have changed your relationship with the host community. Because a lot of them are saying, thank you, God bless you. And so somebody recently said in the scale of 1 to 10, that they can give them 7. That's a pass mark on that area. You're doing well. That needs to be maintained. But we are still on the emphasis on the issue of how you manage the acidic substances that is made up of, that the battery is made up of. I don't think you have still told us emphatically, this area, this is what we are going to do, this one, because we know this will surely happen. You know, if you don't completely handle it, this is what we will do to reduce it, because that is where our concern is, mitigation, to at least barest level that can be managed. That is our concern. And the other time I raised the issue of workers. You didn't talk anything on the occupational health of the workers. You know, how they will be taken care of, what they will be using because of the nature of the production they will be into. You haven't still emphasized it here. But that's our concern. We are happy that development is coming in. Yes, we want it, but the development should not come and, you know, destroy the little that we are trying to sustain for the next generation to come and see. Thank you very much. Hello? Hello?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Abasiam. I think that is the representative of the Abia State Ministry of Environment. So I will quickly respond to some of the questions that have been raised before we can get final input from the committee and wrap up the meeting. So as regards all the concerns that have been raised, although this is part of why we are having this meeting, so that people can raise concern and also contribute, but it's going to be captured in the EIA report. So the mitigation measure, especially for the acid waste, whether it is in terms of the effluents or the air emissions, for people that have been following up with this project, especially people that were on site, the nature of the technology is such that this project, the effluent in terms of the air is channeled into a hood where it will be treated through a sewage treatment facility. And this sewage treatment facility will ensure that whether it is the effluent, liquid effluent, or in terms of air emission, will be properly neutralized before it is eventually discharged in the environment, such that the impact will be very minimal. And also mentioned here that we are open to receive comments in terms of input that will also include in the mitigation for this project. You can send your input to us at info@richflood.com. We will ensure that this is properly documented in the EIA report. But in terms of the acid waste, the liquid waste will be collected and neutralized using sodium hydroxide. Like I mentioned the last time, neutralizing sodium hydroxide, considering that it's an acidic substance. So we are going to use the basic substance to neutralize this acid waste and the air emissions will be channeled into a hood where it will be neutralized before it's eventually discharged to the environment. So those are the basic ways in which the emissions will be mitigated. And also this will be properly captured in the EIA report. So we assure you that the concerns of these that has to this project will be captured in the EIA reports, and we ensure that it will be very robust. So issue of occupational health and safety, this also will be captured in the EIA report. Majorly what I would want to say is that the proponents, which is the company that's in charge of people who will ensure that adequate PPE, personal protective equipment, will be provided to the staff. And we are also trying to ensure that they stick to this when we are developing the environmental management plan, which is part of the EIA, to ensure that they stick to the environmental management plan, to ensure that whatever we recommend to them is follow up to the letter, to ensure that the impact that is generated from this project does not cause negative impact to whether the human or the environment at large. So I hope I'll be able to address some of these questions. So we'll quickly, I think we are okay. Someone is raising hand. Obona, we can quickly make your comments before we see how to wrap up. Obona, you're raising your hand. You can unmute yourself and make your comments. And mention where organization you are presenting so that we can properly document your comments. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Dr. Bona from KEFI. I joined as a stakeholder. I have interest in this EIA, and my concern is to advise the proponent on the type nature of people of Abia State, Ukwa West, to be precise. They are not people to be taken for granted. They are not people that you can do away with whatever you want to do. So whatever he's coming up with in the report, EIA report, must be duly followed. Just like you have said, let it not be that it will be written that there will be monitoring of the water quality, there will be monitoring of soil quality, and those things will not follow. I will advise that from now, you should know that those people are, in short, in record, they even eat, I can quote it, that people even suspect them of eating flesh, eating human being. So all I'm saying is that they are not these people that, their youth are not these people that you talk with. So he should take it into his mind that he's going to be friendly with them and is going to maintain anything that have been putting down. It's not going to be just to make money issue. And the community members too, especially the representatives or those that stand to benefit as the leaders, they should see beyond the advantage, because battery manufacturing, like you have already pointed, is not something to toy. It's not a simple something. It's so hazardous and must be taken note of, because another factor that may come up is the level of knowledge of the residents. I know that Nigeria generally, especially in local area, there is poor knowledge of what the activities of the company that may likely have a negative influence on them. There should be creation of awareness, enlightenment. Those that will work there should not just see the benefit of their salary. They should also take caution of possible hazards. They should not just engage them because they are enthusiastic with the income. They should be trained. They should be enlightened on what to do, and their protection is paramount. Loss of life can be seen from such activities, and it can be protected by enlightenment of the workers before the commencement. I know that in EIA, sometimes I've read a lot of EIA reports, they took all this into consideration, but my major concern is on follow-up. Implementation is a major issue. I know that you have the good knowledge of all it takes to prevent any hazard or to limit it, but my concern is the actual implementation. That is why I stand to encourage the proponents that is not good enough for him to focus on the income. you should also be interested in the life of the people, because the life of the resident matters. And if he does not take this caution from the beginning, it will go to a time that he will regret being there, because these people, I know them. The indigenous, I know them. They are not like nationwide, Abia state people. They are not people to toy with, especially those areas. There is a whole lot of, as a kind of their lifestyle, they are no nonsense people. This battery production, yes, will bring economic benefits, no doubt about it. It will equally bring environmental effects and social problems. So the essence of this EIA should not just be for formality. It should be put right from now that those agreements or those mitigation measures and whatever, supporting sports are.
Okay, I think we are having a network glitch. Thank you, Dr. Bona. We have really made your point and we have really heard you. So like I mentioned earlier, the environmental management plan will be developed for this project. And also as part of this also, there's going to be a follow-up in terms of the impact mitigation monitoring.
Not as important as monitoring the environmental media that will be affected. It's good for them to sponsor what.
Thank you, Dr. Bona. Thank you very much. We really heard your point. We've heard you. So like I was trying to say that it's going to be, after we have developed environmental management plan for this project, we will ensure that the proponent follows this. It is going to be a follow-up in terms of impact mitigation monitoring, which is going to be immediately after the project has been approved, and this will be in 4 quarters, covering 1 year, every 3 months, to ensure that whatever mitigation measure that was developed for the EIA, we also ensure that the proponent follows this to the letter. And this is one of the measures which we now use to monitor and insist on the right thing to be done. So we can assure you that there is no need for fear. We understand the fears that have to do with nature of project, but we can assure you that we will insist, and we also with the regulators enforcing in terms of compliance, the mitigation measure that we develop for this project will be carried out to the letter. So we can quickly have the last comment from a female member of the community, female representative from the community, before we now wrap up this meeting. Our time is fast spent. Is there any female representative from the community? Okay, Dr. Gaji wants to make a comment. Please go ahead, ma'am, with your comments.
Yes, actually, I just want to quickly add, based on what Dr. Obonaya just mentioned, the whole reason for this meeting is to hear from the community members, those that are directly or indirectly impacted by the project. The impacts, both to air, to water, to soil, even groundwater, apart from surface water, which is rivers, streams, and all of that. Even groundwater below the earth. We are checking and taking samples and ascertaining the status of the environment right now. That's why the EIA is ongoing. It has negative and positive impact on the environment. For instance, even land take. Some people's land will be taken, they will be compensated, and so on and so forth. That is an impact. There are other impacts, like we have mentioned. Captured how to reduce this impact and possibly don't even let it happen in the first place. The first one is to ensure it doesn't happen, which is avoidance. If we say, no, we must produce, we must develop, then while we are developing, what impact can we reduce if we cannot avoid it? That is the whole essence of this EIA. And after the EIA, the government has made it compulsory that every 3 months we will go and check in that place whether everything we wrote in the EIA is being followed, which is what they call monitoring. I want to reduce the grammar so that everybody want to be sure that everything that happening is going to be full to check and report. As consultants, we will do our very best to capture everything that will happen or that will not happen on this project. We will capture it, and the proponent has agreed to work with Richflood, which is the first sign of commitment. That's the first sign that they will work with us all the way to make sure that we help them also to know how to reduce or avoid the impact. So there's no cause for alarm. We are all watching. You are watching as community. We are watching as consultants. And most importantly, the government, the regulators, the policemen of environment, they are watching also. And the law has made it compulsory that all of us work together to make sure that the project proceed successfully, to make sure that if they say they will employ, that they employ. How many people to employ? I believe you have a community development arrangement, or maybe it's being planned. So there is no cause for alarm. We are on it, and the report will be available. If you have any concern, like Mr. Okeme said, send it to us. This is the time to send it in writing, please. Put it in writing, send it to us. Don't keep it to yourself, because we will do our best, but you have a lot to contribute. You can come together, put a writing, whether it's 1 page or 2 pages, in any language. We will interpret it. Send it to our email or snap it and send it to Keme, any contact you have in Richflood. And we will make sure we capture it in the report so that at the end of the day, it is a win-win. Everybody is happy. Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Ogaji again. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Okeme.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I think on this note, we need to wrap up. Well, for that, we want to have a closing remark from the Group Managing Director and COO of Richflood International Limited. So now I will hand over to our GMD to give us a closing remark before we move to the next item.
Well, I want to thank all of us for attending. Thank you, the community representatives, for attending. The representative of the Abia State Ministry of Environment, thank you. I don't know if the Federal Ministry of Environment representative is here. I am not sure, but thank you very much, the chiefs, the women, the youth reps, the youth representatives. Thank you very much for making it to this meeting. And we look forward to working together as a team with you. We are open to comments. We are very, very open to comments. Our ears are open. We are waiting to hear from you if you have additional things to say. And next month, we will meet again. So from our side at Richflood, thank you for all that you have done so far, but there is still a lot to do. There's still a lot of studies to do. I want us to do our very best in the field and consult more and more and document so that we can be able to work together with Niue now and even during the monitoring to be able to safeguard the environment, safeguard the people, and also to encourage Niue to do more in order to make profits, because without profits, without the economic aspects being robust, there is no business. There is no employment without profit. So it's a win-win situation, like I said. The environment must be intact. It must be socially inclusive. It must be economically viable. The business must be economically viable. So I thank you all for making it. And thank you, Niue Group, for your cooperation so far. We are looking more for your cooperation. Please avail yourself when we need it. And together we can make this project a success. Thank you all from my side, and good night.
Thank you very much, Ma, for that passionate remark. So now we now call on every one of us to please put on their camera so that we can have a group photograph as a way of closing this meeting. Please put on your camera. You are sending notifications to everyone now. Put on your camera so that we can have a group photograph in this meeting. Okay, thank you very much. All right, you can see my Dean. Thank you very much for coming. Tram, thank you very much. Mrs. Abasema, thank you very much. Infinix S4, I think I've sent a notification. Please, you can rename yourself so that you can properly identify you. All right, Chiza, Barrister Jude, thank you very much for being part of this meeting. It's nice seeing you here, and we hope you continue to respond when we have need for us to come together. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming around. Thank you very much. Emmanuel, it's good to see you here. Thank you very much. Jeffrey Osondu, it's good to see you. Thank you very much for coming around. You can see our lovely faces. Thank you very much. Mr. Timothy, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's good to see everyone here. All right, Mr. Diola, I think I can see you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us. It's wonderful to see you joining us. Sunday Ojo, thank you very much. Okay, we thank the Niue company, Mr. Mike, for coming on board, availing himself, and everything he has been doing to ensure that we have this meeting with success. Ifeanyi Martins, thank you very much. Rita Babantude, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So on this note, we'll now close this meeting officially. And thank you for joining us. Hope to see you some other time. Thank you very much, and bye.